The summer of 1999 was heavy with heat, the kind that clung to the skin and made the air hum with cicadas. In the small town of Crestwood, Washington, Hannah Weaver, 7 years old, sat cross-legged on the living room floor, her crayons scattered like confetti. Her father, Tom, knelt beside her, his calloused hands guiding hers as they colored a picture of a lighthouse, its beam cutting through a stormy sea. His laugh, warm and rumbling, filled the room, chasing away the weight of the evening. "You're gonna be an artist, kiddo," he said, ruffling her chestnut hair. Hannah grinned, her hazel eyes bright, believing every word. Tom was her anchor, the one who made the world feel safe. A mechanic with grease-stained hands and a quick smile, he'd tell her stories of forest roads and hidden places, his voice weaving magic into the ordinary. Her mother, Ellen, watched from the kitchen, her smile soft but tired, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun. The Weavers' small craftsman house, with its sagging porch and creaking floors, was a haven. But Hannah sensed a restlessness in her father, a flicker in his eyes when he looked out the window toward the dark woods beyond Crestwood. That night, August 17, 1999, Tom stood, brushing crayon dust from his jeans. "Gotta run to the store," he said, kissing Hannah's forehead. "Need milk for your cereal. Be back in a jiff." He winked, grabbing his keys from the hook by the door. Ellen called after him, "Don't take the back roads, Tom. They're too dark." He laughed, waving her off. "I know these roads like my own hands." The door shut, and his pickup's engine rumbled into the night. He never came back. The police searched for weeks. Forest roads, the old gas station on Route 17, the edges of Blackthorn Woods, but found nothing. No truck, no trace, just a void. Hannah clung to her lighthouse drawing, her father's last gift, as Ellen's grief hardened into silence. Crestwood whispered, "Accident, runaway foul play." But no answers came. Hannah grew up in that house, her childhood marked by the absence of Tom's laugh, the weight of questions no one could answer. 22 years later, August 17th, 2021, Hannah, now 29, stood at the same living room window, the rain streaking the glass in a relentless downpour. Crestwood hadn't changed. Same gloomy skies, same whispering woods. The house, now hers after Ellen's move to a nearby apartment, felt too big, its creaks louder in the storm. Hannah, a graphic designer with her father's hazel eyes and a guarded heart, kept his lighthouse drawing framed on the wall, a reminder of the night the world shifted. The doorbell rang, sharp and startling. Hannah frowned, crossing to the door, her bare feet cold on the hardwood. Through the peephole, a delivery man stood, rain-soaked, holding a small package. No logo, no uniform, just a plain brown box, her name scrawled in black ink. She signed for it, her hands trembling, and closed the door, the storm's howl muffled. The package was light, its edges worn, as if it had traveled far. Hannah set it on the kitchen table, her pulse quickening. No return address, no sender's name. She tore it open, revealing a small, leather-bound journal, its cover etched with a spiral symbol that seemed to pulse under the light. Tucked inside was a folded note, its paper yellowed, the handwriting unmistakable. Tom's, sharp and slanted, the same as the notes he'd left in her lunchbox as a child. "Hannah, keep this safe. Don't trust the roads." "Dad." Her breath caught, her knees buckling. She sank into a chair, the note trembling in her hands. How? He'd been gone for 22 years, vanished without a trace. The journal's pages were filled with his writing. Dates, maps, sketches of forest roads, and that same spiral symbol, circling an old gas station on Route 17. One entry dated August 17, 1999, read, "The woods are wrong. Time bends here. I saw her again. Her. Who? The house creaked, louder than the rain, and a low whisper filled the air. Not the storm, but something softer, like a voice calling her name. Hannah's skin prickled, the spiral on the journal glowing faintly, or was it her imagination? She flipped through the pages, finding a sketch of a woman with eyes like hers, standing in a clearing, spirals carved into the trees. The air grew heavy, the smell of pine and earth seeping into the room, though the windows were shut. Hannah's phone buzzed, Ellen's name flashing. "You okay, honey?" her mother asked, her voice tight. "I had a dream about your dad. He was calling you." Hannah's throat tightened. She hadn't told Ellen about the package, but the coincidence chilled her. "I'm fine," she lied, her eyes on the note. "Don't trust the roads." She stood, crossing to the window, the journal in hand. The rain blurred the street, but the woods beyond seemed to shift, their shadows too sharp, too alive. The whisper came again, clearer now. "Hannah, come find me." Her heart raced, the spiral on the journal pulsing in time with her pulse. She thought of the old gas station, abandoned since the 90s, its neon sign long dark. Tom's truck had last been seen there, the clerk claiming he never arrived. The lights flickered, and the journal fell open to a map. Route 17 winding through Blackthorn Woods, a spiral marking a clearing. Hannah's vision blurred, a memory, or dream, flashing. Her father, driving through rain, the road twisting unnaturally, a woman's face in the dark. The lights went out, plunging the house into darkness, and the whisper grew louder, coming from the porch. Something scratched at the door, slow and deliberate, like fingers tracing a spiral. The scratching at the door stopped, leaving a silence that pressed against Hannah's ears, heavier than the storm outside. The house was dark, the power outage swallowing the familiar creaks of the old craftsman in Crestwood, Washington. She clutched her father's journal, its leather cover warm under her fingers, the spiral symbol etched into it pulsing faintly. Or was it her heartbeat? The note in Tom's handwriting, "Hannah, keep this safe. Don't trust the roads," lay on the kitchen table, a ghost from 1999, impossible yet undeniable. Her hazel eyes darted to the porch window, but the rain blurred everything. The woods beyond Blackthorn Road, a wall of shadow. Hannah's breath hitched, the whisper from moments ago. "Hannah, come find me," still echoing in her mind. It sounded like her father, but how could it? Tom had vanished 22 years ago, his pickup last seen near the old gas station on Route 17. She crossed to the door, her bare feet cold on the hardwood, and hesitated, her hand hovering over the knob. The air smelled of pine and earth, seeping through the cracks, unnatural for a sealed house. She grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer, its beam cutting through the darkness, illuminating the journal's open page. A map of Route 17, a spiral marking a clearing in Blackthorn Woods. Her father's words scrawled beside it, "The roads twist. Time isn't right." Hannah's skin prickled. She'd driven those roads as a teenager, searching for answers, but found only silence. Now, the journal felt alive, pulling her toward the gas station, toward the truth. The phone rang, shattering the quiet. Hannah jumped, the flashlight beam swinging wildly. It was Ellen, her mother, her voice tight through the static. "Hannah, I'm coming over. That dream. Your dad was standing in the woods holding a book with a spiral. He said you were in danger." Hannah's throat tightened. She hadn't told Ellen about the package, the journal, the spiral. "Stay there, Mom," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm okay, but I got something. From Dad." Ellen gasped. "From Tom? That's impossible." Her voice cracked, the grief of 22 years surfacing. "What is it?" "A journal," Hannah said, her eyes on the spiral. "And a note. It mentions the roads. I need to check the gas station." She didn't mention the whisper, the scratching, afraid to voice them. "Don't go alone," Ellen pleaded. "Wait for me." But the line cut out, static hissing like whispers. The flashlight flickered, and the journal's spiral glowed brighter, casting a faint pattern on the wall. A spiral, twisting endlessly. Hannah's heart raced. She slipped the journal and note into her backpack, pulled on her boots, and grabbed her car keys. The gas station was 10 miles away, abandoned since the early 2000s, its neon sign a relic. Tom's truck had been spotted there the night he vanished, but the clerk swore he never saw him. She opened the door, the rain cold against her face, and stepped onto the porch. The woods seemed closer, their shadows shifting, and the whisper returned. Softer now. Follow the spiral. She drove through the storm, Route 17 winding through blackthorn woods, the trees looming like sentinels. The road felt wrong, narrower than she remembered, the mile markers repeating. 3, 3, 3. Her grip tightened on the wheel, the journal's weight in her backpack a reminder of her father's warning. The gas station appeared, its rusted pumps ghostly in the headlights, the sign flickering despite no power. Hannah parked, her breath shallow, and stepped out, the rain soaking her jacket. The station's windows were boarded, but a spiral was scratched into the door, fresh as if carved moments ago. Her flashlight beam trembled, catching movement inside, a shadow, human-shaped, gone in a blink. The whisper came again, from the woods behind the station. Hannah, I'm here. Her heart lurched, and she took a step toward the trees, the spiral on the journal pulsing in her bag, as if guiding her into the dark. Ellen's hands shook as she drove through the rain, her old sedan rattling along Crestwood's back roads. The dream of Tom, standing in Blackthorn Woods, clutching a spiral-marked book, his eyes pleading, clung to her, as vivid as the night he'd left in 1999. Hannah's voice on the phone mentioning a journal from Tom had cracked something open in her, a wound she'd buried under years of silence. The idea of her daughter alone at that abandoned gas station on Route 17, chasing ghosts, filled her with dread. Ellen's blonde hair, now streaked with gray, stuck to her face as she squinted through the windshield, the wipers barely keeping up. She'd always hated Route 17, its twisting path through Blackthorn Woods too dark, too quiet. Tom had laughed off her warnings that night, his pickup rumbling into the dark. The police had questioned the gas station clerk, an old man named Ray, who swore Tom never arrived, but Ellen had seen the flicker in his eyes as if he knew more. Now Hannah was there, drawn by a package Ellen hadn't seen, a note in Tom's hand. How could it be him after 22 years? The gas station loomed ahead, its rusted pumps bathed in Hannah's car headlights, her sedan parked crookedly. Ellen's heart sank. Hannah wasn't inside. She stepped out, rain soaking her coat, and approached the station, its boarded windows dark. A spiral scratched into the door caught her eye, its edges sharp, fresh. "Hannah!" she called, her voice swallowed by the storm. Inside, the air was stale, the floor littered with dust and broken glass. Ellen's flashlight beam fell on the counter where a faded logbook lay open, its pages yellowed. An entry dated August 17, 1999, read, "Customer, pickup truck, spiral on hood. Left for Woods." Her breath caught. Tom had been here. Why had Ray lied? She flipped the page, finding a Polaroid taped to it. Tom, his face pale, standing by his truck, a spiral glowing faintly on the hood. The hum started, a low vibration, not the rain but something alive, coming from the walls. Ellen's skin prickled, the spiral on the door glinting in her beam. She heard a whisper, faint but clear. "Ellen, she's in the woods." It wasn't Hannah's voice or Tom's, but something older, colder. Her heart raced. She grabbed the logbook and photo, stuffing them into her bag, and ran outside, toward the trees where Hannah had gone. The woods were dense, the path slick with mud. Ellen's flashlight beam caught glimpses of spirals carved into tree trunks, their edges glowing faintly, like the one on the journal Hannah described. The hum grew louder, and a vision flashed. Tom, walking this path, his eyes wide, a woman's voice calling, "You can't stay." Ellen stumbled, the vision fading, her breath ragged. Ahead, a clearing glowed, and Hannah stood at its center, staring at a spiral carved into the ground, her eyes reflecting something Ellen couldn't see. Hannah's boots sank into the muddy clearing, the spiral carved into the ground, glowing faintly under the rain-soaked sky. Blackthorn Woods pressed around her, the trees too close, their branches clawing at the storm. The journal in her backpack felt heavy, its spiral symbol burning through the fabric, mirroring the one at her feet. The whisper, "Hannah, I'm here," had led her here, her father's voice unmistakable, though it carried an echo, like a recording played too many times. Her flashlight beam trembled, catching the spirals carved into the trees, their glow pulsing in time with her heartbeat. She'd followed the path from the gas station, the spiral on its door a sign she couldn't ignore. The shadow she'd seen inside had vanished, but its presence lingered, a weight in the air. The journal's map had marked this clearing, Tom's handwriting warning, "Time bends here. Don't stay long." Hannah's throat tightened. She'd been 7 when he vanished, coloring a lighthouse with him hours before he left for the store. Now, 22 years later, his note and journal were pulling her into a mystery she didn't understand. She knelt, her fingers brushing the ground's spiral, cold and slick. A hum rose, vibrating through her bones, and a vision flashed. Tom, standing in this clearing, his pickup parked nearby, a woman with hazel eyes, her eyes handing him the journal. "Keep her safe," the woman said, her voice desperate. The vision faded, and Hannah gasped, her hand clutching the spiral, as if it could anchor her to the truth. "Hannah!" Ellen's voice cut through the hum, sharp and frantic. Hannah turned, her mother stumbling into the clearing, her flashlight beam wild, a logbook and Polaroid in her hands. Ellen's face was pale, her gray-streaked hair plastered to her cheeks. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, pulling Hannah to her feet. "It's not safe." "Mom, I heard him," Hannah said, her voice breaking. "Dad, he's here, somehow." She pointed to the spiral, its glow brighter now, casting shadows that moved unnaturally. "The journal led me here. He wrote about this place." Ellen's eyes widened, her gaze falling on the logbook. "I found this at the station," she said, her voice trembling. "It says he was there the night he vanished, and this." She held up the Polaroid, Tom's face stark, the spiral on his truck glowing. The clerk lied. The hum surged, the spiral on the ground pulsing, and the whispers returned. A chorus now. "Hannah? The roads. Find him." Hannah's vision blurred. Another flash. The woman from before, her face like Hannah's, carving the spiral into the ground, her hands bloodied, chanting words at twisted time. The clearing shook, the trees bending inward, and a shadow appeared at the edge. A figure, cloaked, its eyes glowing like spirals, watching them. Ellen's heart pounded as the cloaked figure's spiral-like eyes glowed from the clearing's edge, its presence a cold weight that stole her breath. The ground's spiral pulsed, its light casting eerie shadows across Hannah's face, her daughter's hazel eyes wide with fear and determination. The journal in Hannah's backpack glowed faintly, its spiral symbol matching the one beneath them, the logbook and Polaroid in Ellen's hands heavy with Tom's secrets. The hum was deafening now, a chorus of whispers weaving their names. "Hannah, Ellen, the roads bend." "Mom, it's her," Hannah whispered, her voice trembling. She clutched the journal, her fingers white-knuckled, the vision of the woman, her face like Hannah's, carving the spiral, still vivid. "The woman in my dreams, she's tied to this." The clearing felt alive, the trees twisting, their spiral carvings glowing brighter, as if the woods themselves were closing in. Ellen grabbed Hannah's arm, pulling her back from the spiral. "We need to leave," she said, her voice sharp but cracking. She thought of Tom, his laugh, his restless eyes, the night he drove into the dark. The Polaroid burned in her hand, his face, the spiral on his truck. Proof had been at the gas station, proof the clerk had lied. But this figure, this hum, was beyond reason, beyond the grief she'd carried for 22 years. Hannah resisted, her boots rooted in the mud. "No," she said, her voice fierce. "Dad's journal says the truth is here. The woman, she was protecting me." She opened the journal, its pages fluttering, revealing a sketch of the clearing. The woman standing at its center, spirals circling her. Tom's handwriting read, "She says Hannah's the key." The roads took me. Don't follow. Ellen's stomach churned. The key to what? She asked, her eyes darting to the figure. It hadn't moved, but its eyes seemed to pull at Hannah, as if it knew her. The hum shifted, a single voice rising. The spiral opens the way. Ellen's skin prickled, the logbook's entry echoing in her mind. Customer, pickup truck, spiral on hood. Left for woods. Hannah knelt again, her fingers tracing the ground spiral. I feel him, she said, her voice soft, almost reverent. Dad, he's close. The journal glowed brighter, and a hidden compartment in its cover popped open, revealing a small silver key etched with a spiral. Hannah's breath caught, the key warm in her hand as if it had been waiting. The figure stepped forward, its cloak billowing and the clearing shook, the spiral on the ground cracking, a faint light seeping through. Ellen screamed, pulling Hannah back, but the whispers grew louder, chanting, "The key! The roads!" Another vision hit Hannah. Tom, driving through a forest road that twisted endlessly, the woman beside him, her voice urgent, "Give her the key." The clearing spun, and the figure's voice hissed, not from the woods but from within. She belongs to the spiral. Hannah's fingers tightened around the silver key, its spiral engraving warm against her palm, as the cloaked figure's words, "She belongs to the spiral," echoed in the clearing. The ground's spiral cracked wider, its faint light pulsing like a heartbeat, mirroring the glow of her father's journal in her backpack. Blackthorn woods loomed around her, the trees' spiral carvings blazing, the air thick with pine and a metallic tang like blood. Ellen's scream still rang in her ears, her mother's grip on her arm desperate, but the hum was louder, a chorus chanting, "The key. The roads. Open the way." "Mom, it's the key," Hannah said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing her chest. The vision of Tom, driving an endless road with the mysterious woman, her voice urging him to protect the key, felt like a memory she'd lived. The figure hadn't moved, its spiral-like eyes locked on her, as if it knew the key's purpose. Hannah's heart raced. She was 7 in 1999, coloring with her dad hours before he vanished. Now, his journal note. And this key were pulling her into his mystery. Ellen's face was pale, her gray-streaked hair plastered by the rain. "Hannah, no," she whispered, her eyes darting to the figure. "We don't know what it does." The logbook and Polaroid in her bag, proof Tom had been at the gas station, proof the clerk lied, felt heavy, but this figure, this spiral, was beyond her understanding. She thought of Tom's laugh, his restless eyes, the night he drove into the dark. Hannah knelt by the cracked spiral, the key glowing brighter, its pulse sensing with the ground's light. "The journal says I'm the key," she said, flipping to a page in her mind. "Hannah's the key. The roads took me." She held the key over the crack, and the hum surged, the woods trembling. A vision flashed. The woman, her face like Hannah's, buried in a box in this clearing, the key in her hand, chanting, "The spiral hides her." The woman's eyes met Hannah's, pleading, "Finish it." "Hannah!" Ellen shouted, pulling her back, but the figure stepped closer, its cloak rippling unnaturally. The ground shook, the crack widening, revealing a small rusted box, its surface etched with a spiral. Hannah's breath caught, the box from her vision, the one Tom had been told to protect. The key fit its lock, glowing hotter, as if it belonged there. "Don't," Ellen pleaded, her voice breaking. But Hannah's hand moved, guided by the journal's words, by her father's note. "Keep this safe." The figure's eyes flared, and the whispers shifted. A single voice, Tom's, calling, "Hannah, do it!" She turned the key, the box clicking open, and a light erupted, blinding, swallowing the clearing. When the light faded, the figure was gone, but the box held a single object, a watch. Tom's watch, stopped at 9:47 p.m., August 17th, 1999. Hannah's heart lurched, and the woods seemed to bend, the path behind them twisting into a new direction, leading deeper into the dark. Ellen's breath caught as she stared at the watch in Hannah's hand, its face frozen at 9:47 p.m. the exact time Tom had left for the store in 1999. The clearing in Blackthorn Woods was silent, the hum gone, the spiral on the ground dark, its cracks sealed as if it had never opened. The rusted box lay empty, its spiral engraving dull, but the journal in Hannah's backpack glowed faintly, its light casting eerie shadows on the trees. The path behind them had changed, twisting into a narrow road Ellen didn't recognize, leading deeper into the woods. "Hannah, that's your father's watch," Ellen whispered, her voice trembling. She remembered Tom checking it that night, winking at Hannah as he promised to be back soon. The logbook and Polaroid in her bag, proof had reached the gas station, felt like anchors to a reality that was slipping away. The woods felt wrong, the air too thick, the stars above too bright, spiraling in patterns that shouldn't exist. Hannah clutched the watch, her hazel eyes wide, reflecting the journal's glow. "Mom, he was here," she said, her voice breaking. "The key opened the box, but where is he?" The vision of the woman, her face like Hannah's, burying the box, lingered, her words echoing. Hannah's heart ached for her father, for the stories he'd told her, the lighthouse they'd drawn together. Ellen grabbed her arm, her grip firm. "We need to get out," she said, her eyes darting to the new road. "This place, it's not right." She thought of the gas station clerk, Ray, his lie about Tom, the spiral on the door. Had he known about this clearing, this box? The watch felt like a warning, its stopped hands a reminder of time's betrayal. Hannah nodded, slipping the watch and journal into her backpack. They turned toward the new road, their flashlights cutting through the dark. The path was paved, but old, cracked, with spirals etched into the asphalt, glowing faintly. The woods pressed closer, the trees whispering. "The roads, find him." Hannah's skin prickled, the watch heavy in her bag, its ticking faint but real, though it shouldn't be. The road twisted, mile markers repeating. 7, 7, 7, as if they were circling. Ellen's heart raced, her mind flashing to Tom's journal. The road's twist. Time isn't right. "Hannah, this isn't Route 17, she said, her voice tight. "We're lost." Hannah stopped, her flashlight beam catching a sign. "Gas station, 1 mile." But the station was 10 miles from the clearing. "It's leading us back," she said, her voice steady but fearful. A vision flashed. Tom, driving this road, the woman beside him, her voice urgent. "The spiral takes you." The road ahead glowed, a spiral forming in the asphalt, and a figure stood at its center, cloaked, its eyes spiraling, beckoning them forward. Tom's watch burned against Hannah's chest, its hands spinning chaotically, a heartbeat from 1999 echoing in 2024. The gas station's neon sign flickered ahead, its glow unnatural, casting spirals across the rain-slicked road. Blackthorn Woods pressed close, their spiral-carved trees dim now, the hum a faint whisper. "Hannah, finish it." The journal in her backpack was heavy, its glow fading, but the key in her hand pulsed, tied to the vision of Mara, her face like Hannah's, her voice pleading to protect her. Ellen walked beside her, her mother's silence heavy with grief and resolve, the logbook and Polaroid proof of a truth they couldn't escape. Hannah's heart ached for her father, his stories of forest roads, the lighthouse they'd drawn together. The road had led them back to the gas station, though it shouldn't have. The timeline bending like Tom's journal warned. Time isn't right. Mara's words, "The spiral wants her," haunted her. Was she Hannah's mother, trapped by the spiral, or something else, bound to this place? The figure's sorrowful eyes lingered in her mind, a guide or a warning. The gas station's door was ajar, the spiral scratched into it, glowing faintly. Hannah pushed it open, the air stale, the counter dusty. Ellen's flashlight beam fell on a trapdoor behind the counter, its surface etched with a spiral, locked with a keyhole matching Hannah's key. "This wasn't here before," Ellen whispered, her voice trembling. She thought of Tom, his truck, the clerk's lie. Had he gone through this door? Hannah knelt, the key warm, its spiral pulsing. "It's the way. she said, her voice steady. The watch ticked louder, its hand settling at 9:47 p.m. as if time had caught up. She turned the key, the trapdoor clicking open, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. The hum returned, a chant, the spiral, the truth. A vision flashed. Mara, in this station, locking the trapdoor, her hands bloodied, whispering, "Hannah must close it." Ellen grabbed her hand. "We do this together," she said, her eyes fierce. They descended, the air cold, smelling of earth and pine. The stairs ended in a chamber, its walls carved with spirals, glowing faintly. At the center was a stone altar, a spiral etched into it, and Tom's truck key, rusted but unmistakable, lay atop it. Hannah's breath caught, tears falling. "Dad," she whispered. The hum surged, and the light appeared. A door, shimmering with spirals, where Mara stood, her eyes soft, human. "Close it," she said, her voice warm but urgent. Hannah's key glowed, and she pressed it into the altar's spiral, chanting words from the journal, unbidden. The door pulsed, the spirals on the walls dimming, and Mara's form flickered, smiling, then fading. The chamber shook, the door collapsing, the hums silenced. Hannah and Ellen stumbled back, the trapdoor slamming shut above. The gas station was quiet, the spiral on the door gone. But the watch in Hannah's hand was still, its hands at 9:47 p.m. Outside, the woods were ordinary, the road straight, but a shadow lingered in the trees. A figure, its eyes human, watching, then gone. The journal's last page was blank, but Hannah felt Tom's presence and Mara's, unanswered questions spiraling into the dark.